Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly SlabStox show, episode 3. Today we have SlabStox Vincent in the house, a little bit of a breath of fresh air compared to the usual Aaron and I. Aaron is a little bit, I guess you'd say, under the weather or something this week. And so we had to get a fill-in, and SlabStox Vincent is making his debut. He's done a few lives. He's shown up in show videos, but this is his first SlabStox video. So everyone welcome him in the comments. Tell him he did a wonderful job. Yada yada yada. On today's first off, welcome Vincent. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I'm looking forward to it. Excited.
Cool. Cool. What's that from?
Cool. I don't know.
Community. You never seen Community?
I have not. My roommate watches that though. That's actually kind of funny. He told me about that this semester. I did not watch it though.
So good. And for everyone on YouTube, if you haven't seen Community, go watch it. It's on Netflix. It is a very funny show. At least the first couple seasons are very funny. All right. So for today's rundown of the episode, we are going to be talking about a big purchase by Logan Paul. Obviously, you've probably seen, if you're into sports, you've probably seen Logan and Jake Paul force their names into your consciousness because of boxing and all the attention it gets. But Logan Paul is in the card market, and he made a gigantic purchase over the weekend. We've got a little game worn versus player worn conversation. Who's hot, who's not. Dinging corners. I'm bringing you a little dinging corners segment today, so be on the lookout for that. And then we will end it off with a SlabStox debate. Debate we were going to give you last time, but we ran out of time, so we are going to pushed it to this time. That being said, let's jump into it. And so general industry news, obviously the biggest thing in the industry right now is Logan Paul, which is a weird thing to say. I never thought I would actually ever say that, especially because I'm a sports card guy and he's a Pokemon guy. But Logan Paul this past weekend bought a 1999 first edition sealed case. So it has 6 booster boxes in it. Sealed case, guaranteed sealed case, authenticated sealed case from Shane 150 or Shine 150. Who you'll know on Instagram, SHYNE150. He's got a ton of massive cards. And he bought this box from Jamil at Shop Mealy Pops, who found it out in the wild. He bought it from him for $2.7 million and then sold it to Logan Paul for $3.5 million. I don't even think he probably had it for 6 months, and he made $800,000 on it. So shout out Shine, and shout out Logan Paul for buying this absolutely absurdly priced sealed box. And it's the only one known in existence. That's the really big thing here, is that you can get individual booster boxes sealed and authenticated, but nobody had ever found a sealed case of this until now. Logan Paul obviously had to have it, and he spent $3.5 million on it. I am curious to know what you guys think. I don't know a lot about Pokemon, and we'll get Vincent's take on this. I don't know a lot about Pokemon. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, I guess 1999 first edition. I know it's big. I know you're probably going to get a number of Charizards. And if you hit a big Charizard or 30 big Charizards or something, it's going to be massive. But like, it doesn't really do it for me. So in the comments, if you could, let me know if you like this move. If you don't, I'd rather personally spend $3.5 million on almost anything else. But Vincent, let me know your thoughts on this.
It's interesting. I'm like you. I don't know too much about Pokemon. I focus mainly on baseball, probably football and basketball a little bit. And then Aaron got me into soccer, but Pokemon's a little foreign to me. But I know $3.5 million. That's a pretty big price tag for anything. Let alone a box of Pokemon cards in my mind. I know Logan. I think he has some of the individual booster boxes too. So he's kind of. And I don't know how many of them are out there. I think I saw someone online said he had like 5. Don't quote me on it, but so he's got individual sealed ones.
He's got a picture, and I think he has 5 sitting in front of him on Aaron's Instagram picture.
So now he has a sealed case, which obviously
is 6.
Is 6, and the only one to exist. And then he's got 5 other ones. I don't know if he opened them or not. I know he did something Like,
they look like they're still in their plastic cases they came in. So
okay, so I mean, he's got a pretty good stronghold on the market, I'd say. I'm assuming there's not too many sealed ones still out there. So I mean, uh, it's first edition, yeah, 1999. I know the Charizard's big. I guess you could consider or compare the Charizard to like a 52 Mantle in terms of like the Grail of Pokemon. I don't know. I would take the 52 Mantle all day, every day, twice on Sunday. But I guess for the Pokemon market, that's obviously the Grail. So to have that box, who knows how many Charizards are in there? I'm assuming they're in really good shape.
Plus other
Yeah, other
Pikachu's,
big
and
cards. Yeah,
if
get them.
Mewtwo's in there or
Yeah,
Jigglypuff, if that's a thing that's still, I don't know.
yeah. My knowledge is pretty much at Charizard, but I'm sure there's other big cards in there that you get graded and they get good grades, and you're making a pretty penny on those too. I saw we pulled a couple comments off of our SlabStox post on Instagram from I believe it was last night, and pretty mixed bag, I'd say, Nate. A couple people liking it, a couple people really not liking it. We had a couple comments here. One person said first edition will always appreciate, COVID or not, good move. So obviously in favor of Logan's investment. Another person said great investment, especially since he's doubling down on something he already has invested in, being that he has 5 other first edition boxes. So there you go. He's got the 5 other boxes. But then flip side, doesn't make much sense, to be honest, but not much does. Pokemon Insane Craze came back during COVID, and that wasn't prominent prior. Still a lot to learn as to who, what, when on things go up, the possibility of them going down, the singles and the boxes. Just not a lot of knowledge with it being more popular than ever. So seems pretty mixed bag. I'm kind of the same way. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's a lot of money for Pokemon. That's all I'm gonna say. A great ROI by Shine in like what, 6 months. So
Yeah,
it's impressive.
Incredible ROI. I mean, you buy a box because you have the money. You hold on to it until you know the exact person that you want to buy it. Because he said other people came to try to buy it, and he was holding it for Logan Paul specifically. He got Logan Paul to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
800 grand profit. Okay.
You control the market too. So
yeah,
I mean, if it's the only one as of now, so definitely.
For me, one thing I will point out is that I don't think. I mean, I don't know the Pokemon market, but I'm not a big believer in everything always appreciating. I do think at some point people are going to lose interest in probably cards, Pokemon cards, NFTs, whatever. And then, there's going to be something new down the line after that. And I do think there's going to be a loss of interest in some of this stuff. And maybe, a sealed case is a sealed case. But I don't think that you can just go out and say first edition will always appreciate. I do think you're going to get to a point where people just, Pokemon, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing helping the appreciation or even just the knowledge of it is someone like Logan Paul. Not saying that I think influencers getting into the card market is awesome in every aspect, but
because we can see what happened to the Aoki collection PSA 10 Jordan.
Exactly. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing all the time, but Logan Paul buying that for 3.5 million with his reach and maybe getting more people into the market compared to a private deal that nobody knows on Instagram, maybe that pulls a little bit more people into it. Maybe it keeps people interested longer. I don't know. Only time will tell, obviously. But like I said, not always a fan of influencers getting involved in the card market, but you never know. Could help it, could hurt it. Yeah. Only time will tell.
All right. Well, moving on from Logan Paul, never thought we'd open a show like that. We had a little debate on, was that 2 weeks ago? So
like Nate was saying, 2 weeks ago in Daily Slab, we had a little write-up when the Kobe, we'll go over, I think is a 2012-2013 National Treasures Logoman number to 2 BGS 9 was going up for sale in the PWCC Premier Auction for December. So we kind of brought up the debate, well, not even debate, just kind of more a discussion, because I think we clearly know which one is more valuable than the other. But when that went up, we kind of pointed out that obviously all National Treasures Logoman cards are extremely sought after and valuable for every collector. But this little nuance that maybe not a lot of people pay attention to before, but are starting to now, is the difference between patches that in the cards that are game worn or player worn. So game worn, obviously they wore it at some point in the game. We don't know which one. It'd be cool if they could track it back to the individual game. I think there might be a couple things that actually do that in other parts of memorabilia, you can kind of track it back. But then there's also player worn. So Nate, I'm assuming that's whenever, like, they just wore it in a practice.
I'm assuming what I'm assuming this is Panini goes to them, says put this jersey on, they put it on, they take it off, they give it back. Player one.
Yeah, I
I could
mean,
be wrong.
maybe practice, maybe a photo shoot, maybe
Yeah.
who knows? I don't know. But obviously, you would want a jersey that was game worn. Like that's just the better aspect, the
It's
cooler
just a
aspect.
little bit more of an appeal. Obviously, the whole thing is kind of ridiculous. It's just a piece of
cloth.
It's a piece of clothes that another human being wore at one
Not
point.
this big.
So the whole thing's probably just a little bit ridiculous, but the idea that it was actually in a real life event that you can go back and look at is a lot cooler than being like, maybe he wore this at a photo shoot or something. So
exactly. Yeah. So the Kobe going on sale kind of had us curious because back in December of last year, 2020, when the high-end basketball card market was lower than it is now, just want to point out, but a 2018 National Treasures rookie Logoman Luka Doncic numbered to 5, which was ungraded, sold back then for $67,878. So obviously, nice hefty price tag. It was just Logoman too, no autograph. So we saw this Kobe go up for sale on PWCC. Wanted to compare the two. At the end of this month's auction, it ended up selling for $99,000. Pretty big price tag for non-rookie. Obviously numbered to 2, but it was game worn. So just something we wanted to point out. I thought it was pretty interesting to look at the two prices and kind of see how the market responds to the two different patches. The Luka may sell for more now because, like I said, the high-end basketball market was lower back in late December 2020 than it is now, as we've been seeing with tons of record-breaking sales. I saw PWCC posted a bunch last night of some massive record-breaking sales. So the high-end market is definitely healthy. I think that's for sure. But the sale is interesting. What are your thoughts on it, Nate, with the Kobe sale and kind of like the debate or even the topic?
So on one hand, you have obviously 3 less Kobe's.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. It's already graded. That's important. Thick card like that, BGS 9 is a fine grade, a very good grade actually.
Mm-hmm.
There's no guaranteeing this Logoman gets a BGS 9 at all on the right side of the Luka. That being said, Kobe was drafted in 1996, or first rookie card was in 1996, and this is 2012. That is, 16 years later?
16, yeah. It's quite some time.
And so 16th year Logoman, number 2, sure. Graded BGS 9, sure. But a 16th year card. And it's Kobe, and obviously people love Kobe and all that stuff. But this Luka is a rookie Logoman. There's only 5 in existence, at least for National Treasures. And it is a rookie, which is important to me. I'm not big on the whole let me go grab 20th year Tom Brady goal.
Yeah.
Don't have the money to do it anyway, so it shouldn't really bother me. But even if I did have the money, I would spend my money on something else. And so for me, I get that it's game worn. I get that it's Kobe. I get that it's out at 2. I get that it's a BGS 9. But for me, because it's from 2012, I just don't think there should be any way it should be more expensive than the Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I agree, especially with it being a rookie. Because Luka's had an insane career so far. So obviously people, I think the Luka goes for more money now than it did back in December 2020. I think that's pretty clear.
Though also to be fair, Luka has been good, but he hasn't won as many championships, MVPs,
100%.
Scoring titles.
It's all prospecting at this point, or speculation.
And that's the big thing. And if you've watched these shows long enough, or if you've been in the card market long enough, or if you've paid attention to other people's shows, it's not about what you have done; it's about what you could do.
Yeah, and there's no sure thing either. That's a scary thing. There's no sure thing. So
correct. I mean, people spend absurd amounts of money And maybe that makes Logan Paul smart. People spend absurd amounts of money on guys that could do something in the future compared to guys that have done, look at Hall of Famers. Their price is way lower than a Fernando Tatis or Ronald Acuna, despite the fact that those guys are kind of injury prone and they might not, they're good right now and they're on the path for Hall of Fame, but they might not make it there. You never know. An Andrew Luck situation might happen to them. And so then you look at like Logan Paul and you're like, Pikachu's never torn his ACL, right? Charizard's
will
never
always breathe fire.
Yeah, Charizard's never hurt his neck and ended his career. I was just looking at Devontae Adams' stats compared to Sterling Sharp. I don't know if you know how good Sterling Sharp was, but
yeah, I'm aware.
He retired in 1994 as a 29-year-old.
Yeah,
and he had 8,100 yards, 65 touchdowns, and that was right in the Brett Favre era, before the Super Bowls, before Brett Favre's run of like 3 straight MVPs. If he had stayed 30, 31, 32, we're talking
prime years,
11, 12,000 yards, probably 100 touchdowns, Hall of Famer. But he hurt his neck, and that can't happen to Charizard. So,
yeah, 100%. Interested to see what people say in the comments too. I mean, do you guys? I think it's pretty clear in terms of the player worn versus game worn. I think everyone would like a game worn, but maybe comparing the Luka and the Kobe. You guys taking the Luka logo man or the Kobe logo man? Because like you said, he's solidified, but the Luka seems like a good deal compared to the Kobe if he pans out.
I struggle, I get why the Kobe has so much going for it. A, it's Kobe. B, it's BGS 9. C, it's game worn. D, it's out of 2.
Yeah, checks all the boxes.
But the big thing for me is 16th year, not a rookie.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that's the deciding factor there. I'm not a huge non-rookie guy. I know a lot of people are, but for me personally, and this is just me personally, never just base your buying off of what I say. For me personally, I would never buy a card like that unless it was a personal collection card, because I want rookies. I want their first card. I don't care about year 16.
Exactly. I'm the same as you.
We move on, and we are going to go into who's hot, who's not of the week, and who's hot. And I'm guilty of this. And it's not just this man; it's the whole team. The Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are hot. I was pretty down on them at the start of the season. I had my hot takes about them, not about Patrick Mahomes. He looked a little bit, iffy, but you don't expect Patrick Mahomes to continue playing iffy. It's Patrick Mahomes after all. But the Chiefs, their defense looked terrible. Their offensive line looked terrible, and it didn't seem like there was a quick fix coming down the line. Well, apparently there was a quick fix in there, and I haven't watched a lot, but their defense has been way better. Oh, yeah. Way better. And so the Chiefs are back as a team, and Patrick Mahomes is back. They just beat the Chargers on Thursday Night Football.
That was a great game. That was
34-28.
Yeah, overtime. That was an awesome game. Yeah, I watched that live. It was pretty crazy. The ending, so good. So good.
And what's exciting is Justin Herbert's not going anywhere for years. Patrick Mahomes is not going anywhere for years. This is going to happen every year.
Twice a year.
It's going to be awesome. The problem is Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. We know how good he is. Justin Herbert's Justin Herbert. We know how good he is. But I do worry that if you are Justin Herbert having to go up against Patrick Mahomes, your prices are going to struggle for years until you can finally break through. And if you don't break through by year 4 or 5 against Patrick Mahomes, people might just not care about your cards anymore and have moved on. So could be interesting, but the Chiefs are sitting at 10-4 in the AFC West, first place. They are first in the entire AFC conference, which if you would have said that 6 weeks ago when they were like 5-6, nobody would have believed you.
Yeah, wasn't looking good for them for a long time, but should have doubted them.
He has 4,000. Mahomes has 4,000 yards on the season, 30 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. You'll notice that those are numbers. He's got more yards than Aaron Rodgers, but the same amount of touchdowns and 9 more interceptions. So trash, not going to win MVP. Aaron Rodgers deserves MVP. Yada yada yada.
He has cleaned up interceptions though. I mean, that was the big thing in the beginning of the season. That's why they were struggling. Is he was turning the ball over so much, which was abnormal for him. So I mean, yeah, 13 picks is not great, but compared to the way the season started, he's kind of leveled off with some other players in the league. So
hey, he put it into perspective like this: as a Brett Favre fan, 13 picks is amazing. As an Aaron Rodgers fan, 13 picks is like you're the worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah, definitely two contrasts there.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to follow this going forward. There was obviously a buying opportunity. His select rookie, so he doesn't have the concourse rookie for Mahomes, but he does have the premier rookie and then the field level rookie. And his premier level rookie, PSA 10 silver, has increased 21% over the past 2 months, which is interesting because it made a buying opportunity. But next year, if this same thing happened, not a buying opportunity because it increases by 21%, but you sell that card, you owe 28% in taxes. If you don't run like your own business through cards, right? If you don't have your own or sole proprietorship for your card business and you're just buying and selling personally, you're going to owe 28%, which means you didn't make any money, especially after eBay takes their 12.5% cut. So kind of an interesting thing here for me is like, even a guy like Mahomes that you had a buying opportunity on and it went up, you're still in the red. Which it's going to affect how people play cards next year. I think a lot more people might get into the hold it long term or buy really cheap guys that can kind of pop off and double triple rather easily.
Yeah, for sure. That's not going to be the greatest next year. Not looking forward to that.
Yeah. And then who's not of the week is Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he has a deep bone bruise in his ankle, first reported as a twisted ankle, but it is apparently a deep bone bruise in his ankle. He missed the past 2 games after exiting against the Bears. No, he played. He didn't play against.
I think he didn't. Who did he not play against?
Well, Tyler Huntley played against the Bears and won. And then last week he left the game against the Browns, and Tyler Huntley almost brought them back against the Browns. Or no, he played against the Bears.
He left against the Browns. They played the Packers last week or this past week.
This past week, I know that. I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
Watch the game.
The Browns is a game he exited like early.
So, correct. And Tyler Huntley almost brought him back, and then Tyler Huntley almost beat the Packers. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the Ravens have had a ton of injuries, but the Packers have also had a ton of injuries. We had almost no offensive linemen that started the season out there. We had like 5 backups out there. Mm-hmm. We didn't have our starting all-pro cornerback. We didn't have our best pass rusher. We didn't have Kenny Clark, one of the best interior defensive linemen and run blockers in the league. Or run stuffers in the league. So, similar kind of injuries. Ravens obviously more injured. Tyler Huntley really was the reason why they were even close. That dude was amazing, just making throws, running for yards, everything. Yeah. So it's pretty incredible. So not that Lamar Jackson's going to lose his spot, but a couple injuries and Tyler Huntley looking really good. People might start questioning if Lamar Jackson's kind of just a system QB
or a running back.
Classic. I will never say that because I love Lamar Jackson and I'm a big, if anybody has watched these long enough, I'm a big proponent in the underdog getting a shot. And so like people wanted to quit on Tua, big Tua believer. People wanted to quit on Zion before his career even began. Big Zion guy, even though he's a first overall pick and you can't really be an underdog if you're first overall pick. The amount of people I heard talk about Zion calling him a bust before he even stepped on an NBA court was absurd when I worked at the card shop a couple years ago. And so for me, people saying, oh, Lamar can't do it. Lamar doesn't have a chance. He's not a quarterback. I was a big fan of him because I wanted to see him get a shot at quarterback, which he has, and he's been amazing. But then you have a guy like Tyler Huntley come in and play just as well as Lamar
Looks like
Jackson.
Lamar
And in
Jackson
fact,
2.0.
he had 2 passing touchdowns. Yeah, Lamar Jackson 2.0. 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. The first Ravens quarterback to ever do that. Not even Lamar Jackson has done that. Not even Joe Flacco. Oh, wait. So, Tyler Huntley, good. Lamar Jackson, maybe. And I'm saying this tongue in cheek for everyone on YouTube about to blow up in the comment section. Tongue in cheek, I don't actually think he is a system quarterback, but I do think the Ravens have a good problem in which some team, as long as Tyler Huntley probably doesn't play another game and get in, and maybe not get injured, no big injuries, and also another game where he gets absolutely figured out. Some team's probably going to come forward and give them like a 3rd, 4th round pick, maybe even a 2nd round pick for Tyler Huntley to be their quarterback next year. I could see it definitely happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that is our who's hot or who's not. Oh, I suppose we should talk about little prices here. His concourse level base rookie, PSA 10, has decreased 50% in the last month, around $83. Now, obviously, this is a base rookie. A lot of base cards have dropped in price. And a lot of football cards in general, once the season started, have been dropping. Same with basketball, same with baseball. It seems like there's a run up before the season. And then once the season starts, people are like, I'll sell now. I don't really care. I'm going to get into the next sport that's going to start. Would you agree with that, Vincent?
Yeah, I think the market's really cyclical. We've seen it for the last couple seasons, and even a little bit before the big boom in 2020. But it's been exaggerated over the last couple of years. It's very cyclical. So if you pick your spots right and time it, I know it's hard to time the market per se, but you can get a pretty good idea of what the card's going to do, barring any significant injuries or big performances. I think it's pretty easy to tell. And like, especially with this Lamar card, like one interesting thing is like, yeah, they have a good problem with Huntley being good, but they also have a big problem with whether they're gonna make the playoffs or not. Because they're the number 1 seed a couple weeks ago and looking good, Lamar healthy, and now their division is tough. They might not even make the wild card. They could find themselves.
Let me tell you, they are 8-6.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is 7-6-1.
Mm-hmm.
They are, both out of playoffs right now. Buffalo is 8-6. Chargers are 8-6. Indianapolis is 8-6. Cincinnati is 8-6.
Mm-hmm. Got the Raiders sneaking up behind them, 7-7. Hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah, Raiders 7-7. Miami 7-7. Cleveland 7-7. Denver 7-7.
Mm-hmm.
So you have obviously the issue here is that Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore are all in the same division.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 8-6 teams, 1 7-6-1, and 1 7-7. There are 4 weeks left. Literally any team could win.
Yeah.
This division.
And they all beat up on each other. They're all going to beat up on each other these last 4 weeks because I think they play each other a lot. There's a lot of interconference or interdivision games these last couple of weeks.
I would imagine. So there is potential here, especially with Las Vegas at 7-7, Miami at 7-7, Denver at 7-7, and then shout out the Jets, Houston, Jacksonville at 3-11, 3-11, and 2-12.
Yeah, big drop.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 teams out of the 16 teams in. I guess I could have just taken 3 off of 16. I'm an idiot. 13 teams in the playoff race in the AFC West, and we will not know who's in it. It's very possible that we look up at the end of the year and Buffalo and the Chargers are out of the playoffs, which is not something you would expect at the start of the season. It's possible Baltimore's out. It's possible Pittsburgh is in, which wouldn't have been expected. It's possible, Cleveland flip-flops all of these guys, and they're in first instead of Cincinnati. No one knows what's going to happen because we have Cincinnati, top of their division, 8-6. So any other team in that division could get in. And then the 3 playoff teams, Indianapolis, Chargers, and Buffalo, all have one more win than the other teams behind them, except for Baltimore, who obviously is 8-6, but I guess doesn't have the tiebreaker with Cincinnati, the Colts, the Chargers, or Buffalo to be in the playoffs right now.
Or the Raiders.
Well, the Raiders are 7-7.
Yeah. But we got the tiebreaker over them. Week 1. Big win.
So just insane. And it will be very interesting what happens there. In a effort to keep this episode not super long, I am going to skip dinging corners for today. We will save that for next time. We're already running 30 minutes, and we still have the debate. And I don't know how long this debate is going to take, but I had an interesting thought the other week. And so for our weekly debate, which we didn't get to last week, I was looking at Justin Herbert because we had a who's hot, who's not, and Justin Herbert was on there. So I found a Justin Herbert card. Justin Herbert Prism Silver PSA 9. I don't want anybody thinking it's PSA 10. Last sale $456 on bids on December 20th. So a $450 card. Now I was trying to find guys that were similar situations and cards that are similar styles to this, right? Which brought me to, and from different sports, which brought me to LaMelo Ball for basketball and Fernando Tatis for baseball. Now, the reason I picked these three guys for this debate is this. We've got three dudes. They're all in their early 20s. Herbert is 23, Tatis is 22, and LaMelo is 20. Now, 3-year difference between Ball and Herbert is pretty substantial, but all being in their early 20s, it's the important thing here. All three play for less than storied franchises. So I'm talking, Fernando Tatis is not playing for the New York Yankees. He's playing for the San Diego Padres. And until recently, the Padres were a terrible team, bottom dwellers for a very long time, did not spend a ton of money. That has changed, but that is a very recent development. The Padres have not been very good outside of Tony Gwynn. Then you have LaMelo Ball and the Hornets, who used to be the Bobcats, who are an expansion franchise. And I don't remember the year, 2004 maybe, 2003. I don't remember the year. But the Bobcats went to Charlotte. Now, Charlotte had the Hornets back in the day. They moved to New Orleans. Then they got an expansion franchise in the Bobcats. And then the Bobcats, when the New Orleans Hornets changed their name to the Pelicans, Charlotte got the Hornets name back. But again, not a storied franchise in Charlotte. And so you've got two guys like that, LaMelo and Fernando Tatis, playing with unstoried franchises, but superstars in their own rights. And then you have Justin Herbert, who's playing for the Los Angeles Chargers. When the Chargers were in San Diego, they had Dan Fouts and guys like that, Phillip Rivers. But by and large, the Chargers are not like LaDainian Tomlinson. But by and large, the Chargers are not some storied franchise. They're not the Raiders. They're not the Packers. They're not the Patriots. They're not the Cowboys. They're nothing like that. They're the Los Angeles Chargers. And I mean, San Diego didn't even support them, so they moved, right? If you're a storied franchise, you do not have to move locations, but they had to move. So you then have Justin Herbert, who's young, who's really good, and he plays for a less than storied franchise. They are also all three organizations that are up and coming, but maybe not quite there yet. So Charlotte is 16-17, and they are in the 8th spot in the playoffs. But they could easily drop out any day. Boston is 15-16. Toronto is 14-15. Atlanta is 14-15. Any number of those teams could take Charlotte's spot. Mm. The Chargers are 8-6, but like we just said, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, Miami, or Cleveland, or Denver could take their spot in the playoffs. So it's not like they are locked into a playoff spot. And then the Padres were 79-83, not for a lack of trying. They just had insane amount of pitching injuries this year. Every pitcher they had pretty much by the end of the year was injured. And there's just not much you can do. Tatis himself was injured, but they also missed the playoffs at 79-83. So all three teams are also kind of in the same spot. Playoff contenders a little bit, but maybe not like favorites currently. But they're also playoff contenders because of these three guys. If the Padres don't have Tatis, they are not playoff contenders, likely. If the Chargers don't have Justin Herbert, they really aren't playoff contenders. And if Charlotte doesn't have LaMelo Ball, they're still probably one of the worst teams in the league and not in the 8th spot. Like if you take LaMelo Ball off that team, they are probably a bottom team in the East, not the 8th team in the East. So right there, age, franchise, and winning, all very similar for these three guys. So what I'm going to do here, Vincent, is we're going to go through some stats after we've covered the baselines here. We're going to go through some stats, and then we're going to go through some prices. And I want you to pick one, and I want everyone in the YouTube comments to pick one. The prices are very similar, and you have to choose one of these young guys. You can't choose all three. I mean, you would likely choose all three, but you can't choose all three. You got to bet on one going forward to be the breadwinner to make you money. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Like after I give you all this information, it's like, all right, so Tatis is this good, or LaMelo is this good, or Justin Herbert's this good, but because of these reasons, I'm going to go with this guy and not LaMelo and not Justin Herbert, or not Tatis and not Herbert, or whatever.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good debate.
All right. So let's start with LaMelo's stats. He's 20 years old. He's the youngest one. He's a 6'7" point guard, which obviously doesn't grow on trees. And he's been killing it this year, averaging 20 points in his second year in the NBA, averaging 32.8 minutes a game, which is up. He's shooting 41% from the field, which is a little bit down, but he's shooting 4 more shots per game. And I know this is a lot of stats coming at you real quick. He's shooting 39% from 3 on 7 attempts a game. He's also averaging 7.5 rebounds and 8.2 assists, 1.8 steals. So, any way you put it, LaMelo is moving up in the world of basketball. Stats, shooting percentages, field goal attempts, minutes per game, free throw percentage, 3-point percentage. It's all going up. Rebounds per game is going up. Assists per game is going up. Steals per game is going up. He looks really good. He looks really good. He looks like a star. Now, the Hornets do have some defensive issues on that team. But other than that, they're an exciting young team, and people love the NBA. People love the Ball family. People really love LaMelo. Interesting, especially with how well he has played this year. And for whatever it's worth, his PER is 21.3. We move on to Justin Herbert. And currently he has 4,000 yards on the season. He's 66.4% completion percentage, which is right around career average of 66.5. He's 8-6 on the year. He's thrown for 4,000 yards. He still has 3 games left to play. He's thrown for 32 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. 12 interceptions is a little bit high, but
he's young.
He's young. He's young, and he will figure it out. Most quarterbacks do. And then if we just get into his rushing here a little bit, he also has 284 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. So a total of 4,300 yards on the season and 35 touchdowns altogether. Pretty good season from Justin Herbert, and in playoff spot right now. And then Fernando Tatis, probably the most impressive stats of everyone. He hit 282 with a 364 on base and a 611 slugging. The top slugging percentage all time from a shortstop, I'm pretty sure. He had a 975 OPS, 42 home runs in 130 games. So he had 73 extra base hits total, 42 home runs in 130 games. If you add on another 32 games, if he played a full season, which, again, a little bit injury prone, does he finish with 50? We're talking maybe 50 home runs from a shortstop, a 22-year-old shortstop. That in itself is probably the most impressive stat out of all of these guys. Like, LaMelo's stats are really good, but they're not MVP level stats out of a 20-year-old. Justin Herbert's stats are really good, but they're not MVP level stats out of a second-year 23-year-old.
No, they're elite.
What?
They're elite stats, but like
Justin
you said,
Herbert?
not MVP. Yeah,
they're really good. Top 10 quarterbacks. Two insanely good players, but not MVP level. Fernando Tatis, MVP level stats out of a 22-year-old shortstop. And so that right there has me thinking, yeah, I want to go with Tatis. But then you think about popularity and where baseball is compared to basketball and football. And it's like, I saw a thing that soccer in popularity was within like 8 percentage points of baseball for the 3rd most popular sport in America. And I know you and I are baseball guys,
Mm-hmm.
but like, so you got all of these factors in Tatis, right? Best stats, MVP, but it's baseball. Whereas you can get a quarterback, and quarterbacks run the NFL and they run the card market. Or you can get a point guard, 6'7" point guard freak who's really good, whose stats are up, and is going to be probably one of the faces of the NBA, and eventually might leave Charlotte and go to a big market and really explode. So you have all that, and then lastly, their prices. So Justin Herbert, $456 for a silver PSA 9. LaMelo, the last couple sales, when I wanted to do this last week, the last sale was like $405 for a PSA 9. But in the last week, the last two sales have dropped a little bit. We are talking $355 on December 16th for the last LaMelo Ball Silver PSA 9, and $350 same day for that. So $350 card compared to $450 for Justin Herbert. And then Tatis, I took his Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10. Now, obviously, a refractor is not the same pop run, PSA 10 or PSA 9, as a silver. Silvers are way more rare. Also, this is a PSA 10 compared to PSA 9s, but I was trying to get similar prices of similar looking cards. So we've got $490 on the Fernando Tatis Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 10. Pop Report Rise, the refractor has 1,425 PSA 10s out of 2,000 plus graded. The Justin Herbert Silver has 381 PSA 9s out of 642 graded with 107 PSA 10s. And so we're talking 380 PSA 9s for 450, 1,000 some PSA 10s for 480, or, and I got to pull this up on the phone here, 275 PSA 9 silvers for LaMelo, and 58 graded higher, so 58 PSA 10s.
Yeah, that number is only going to go up because, as we know, newer Prism cards, people send them in. So.
It is going to go up, but and I guess these are both 2020. Tatis has been around for a lot longer.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to go up drastically. Like, it's not going. Neither of those cards are going to hit 2,176 silvers. I don't think, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. If they do go up, it would become a significantly more interesting debate, because right now, obviously, Tatis's PSA 10 is more expensive than these PSA 9s, but obviously it's a PSA 10. Whereas if you compared his PSA 9 price, which I guess I could grab right now for those of you that are interested, his PSA 9 price is
Tatis refractor.
What?
For the Tatis refractor you're looking at?
Yeah, I feel like there should have just been one. It's all like prisms.
Yeah, the prism. Yeah, I noticed that too when I was looking up stuff. It's tough to find just the refractor.
$150, December 5th.
Okay.
$150. So if you were just looking at PSA 9s, you could buy 2.5 for a price of a LaMelo, or 3 for the price of a Justin Herbert PSA 9. But obviously, again, Pop Reports, the whole 9 yards. So I'm just trying to get similar prices. So my question is, who do you choose? If you had to choose one, similar prices, obviously you're getting $130 plus with the LaMelo, and you are getting about $30 with the, let's call the Herbert and the Tatis a wash, the $30 difference. So you can get one Herbert, one Tatis, or a LaMelo and $130. Let's say $100.
I would say, you want my take, Nate?
I want your take, yeah, and then I'll give my take.
So I like this debate, and it is tough. These guys are all good, but if I got to go Max Kellerman, aliens pointing a laser beam at Earth, I'm going, give me Tatis. That's my pick. I'm a baseball guy, so there's a little bias. But based on what I was looking at before, I got to go Tatis for a couple of reasons. One, I think baseball cards right now, like at this debate at this point in time, baseball cards are down as a whole. You know that. Lockout, off season. This is usually a good time to buy in general. And I think the lockout, granted that they have a season, and I've talked to a couple of people that actually know in the league, and they don't really think there's going to be, they don't think there's going to be a lockout. They're pretty confident that there's going to be a season. So assuming that there is a season, prices will rebound in the spring, leading up to the preseason hype, as we always see. So I think this is a great time to buy all the top players, honestly. The guys that you had the highest conviction in: Acuna, Soto, Tatis, Franco, Trout. That's my list, my short list of people that, if I have money to spare, I would be looking to buy right now. Or if I'm holding, I'm waiting to sell. So that's reason number one. Second one, did a little bit of research. The Tatis Refractor PSA 10. If you go back to before this previous season, before he went insane, even on a short season with a messed up shoulder and injuries, that card peaked at around $1,300 late February. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at more than a 50% decline from its all-time highs. Not saying it's going to get back to its all-time highs. That's not. I'm not guaranteeing that, but just something to look at, something to think about. I think that's pretty interesting to look at, and I think you said it too. The pop report's about 1,400, so a lot better than flagship base. We all know that's just printed a crap ton. We all know Prism base printed a bunch. So the silvers will have pretty smaller pop reports, but I think 1,400 is pretty solid, and I think pretty stabilized, given that it's been out for 2+ years. I think, like I said, like it's very cyclical. So now is a good time at this debate at the current time to buy and play that preseason hype, or hold long term if you think he's going to be a long term player. I think Tatis is just electric. He signed a massive deal this past season, or before the season, before he even played a full season. Like, think about that. He didn't even play a full season as a player. Signed a 14-year, was it 300? Yeah, him and Wander. Yeah, it's insane. So, but I think it's a good sign because it's showing that teams have high convictions in their players. Like he's the Padres guy. Like the Padres are committed to him. It could be a good or bad thing. I think we see in baseball a lot. Unfortunately, these big deals don't always pan out. I guess like economically for the teams, like these lump sums of money, they usually don't pan out. As a Yankees fan, I'm well aware of that. We've given out a bunch of big deals that normally don't pan out, which is frustrating, but it still shows that they're committed to him. He's their guy. Didn't even play a full 162 games, but I think the Padres front office, like you said, is starting to turn things around. They used to be basically like the Pirates of today's age, where they just didn't spend any money and were boring and nobody liked them. And now they're being aggressive, which I think was probably in their 10-year plan or 5-year plan, whatever. They probably were saving their money, kind of like what we're seeing with the Rangers now, paying $500 million for an infield after not paying anything for the last couple of years. But I really like the front office. They brought in pitching, but got hurt. Can't really account for that. I think another interesting thing is the rivalry with the Dodgers. That brings excitement. He's always going to have that. If he stays in San Diego, he's always going to have that. I know the games. So I'm a big baseball fan. I watch pretty much every Yankees game. Not a lot of people watch a lot of games anymore. But I actually did tune in. I normally don't tune into other games, but I did watch several Dodgers-Padres games on like Sunday Night Baseball this past year because they were fun. I mean, the Dodgers are obviously good. Tatis is a beast. When the Padres were healthy, they were awesome. I think that's kind of like a little bit of a testament to Tatis, getting people like myself who wouldn't normally watch a game. I don't think I watch any other games, honestly, than Yankees and a couple of those. So it's interesting. I mean,
question for you.
Yeah.
And I think I know the answer to this, but if they didn't have Tatis, if it was just Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, Trent Grisham, all of their pitching, and say you switched out Tatis for Luis Urias, right? They don't trade Luis Urias; he's their starting shortstop. You think you watch a Padres-Dodgers game?
No, not even close. I mean, no. Luis Urias, that trade, getting Tatis was one of the best things that could have happened to their franchise, was getting him and him panning out too, obviously.
Because you can get a lot of prospects and none of them. Just talk to the Marlins and their Christian Yelich deal. They just, designated Lewis Brinson for assignment or release Lewis Brinson, the top get in the Christian Yelich deal.
Yeah.
Jordan Yamamoto, one of the other guys, been released years and years ago. So it doesn't always work out.
No, prospecting is tough. Yeah, that's just the way it is. That's why, I mean, you and I like Bowman Chrome, and it's tough. It's a tough game. Not all of them hit, but when you do hit one, like a Tatis or a Soto or something, it pans out.
You make massive money, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, number one, I too have watched a number of Padres games this year, and I would not have watched it if it wasn't for Tatis on the field.
No.
Which is a big testament. Now, obviously, we're a little bit weirder than most people. Like, we love baseball a little bit more than the normal person. I wasn't leaning Tatis.
Okay. Who are you leaning?
I think I am leaning Tatis now after hearing you talk, though.
Oh, I like it. I like it. It was close for me. It was really close. I will say Herbert was a close second for me. Yeah. I love Herbert. I am actually not a big ball fan. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but not a big ball fan. Don't like the family. I know a lot of people like the family. Not a big fan. I just don't like that. I think ball was an easy third for me, but the Herbert Tatis was harder.
Interesting. So let me run you through my thought process here. So I obviously love Tatis. I think he has the best stats. I think he has the best chance to win an MVP. Herbert obviously also has a very good chance of winning an MVP. But Tatis,
at some point,
it's hard to win multiple MVPs in the NFL unless you're like surefire, incredible Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
Tom Brady. But you've got a number of guys: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. It's going to be hard for those guys to compete against each other. One of those guys is going to have a career year every year, and it's going to be super hard to win 3 MVPs in a career, 4 MVPs in a career, let alone Super Bowls. So, and for Justin Herbert, your easiest time to win a Super Bowl is when you're on your rookie deal or your second deal if you're not as amazing. And Justin Herbert's amazing instantly, so he's going to get an absolutely massive deal when his rookie deal's up, and his rookie deal coincides with Patrick Mahomes in the division. That stinks, right? That really stinks. So, Justin Herbert's got some outside pressures, problems, that not because of him, but the division and all the other quarterbacks in the AFC specifically, make it a lot harder for him to get to the playoffs every year, win Super Bowls, win MVPs. And so for that reason, I'm just a little hesitant on Herbert. I know he's amazing. I've seen his throws. I saw that deep bomb. Like, he has every talent in the world. He's 6'6". He has a massive cannon. He's fast. Like, he is good. He is good at football. He's really good at football. But because of everything else that's out there, I worry. I'm just look at the Bills. They look like they were on top of the world.
Yeah, last year. Now
they can't beat Bill Belichick again.
Yep.
Yeah. So there was my concern there. I do think he has the second easiest route to winning an MVP, behind Tatis. And it's a big sport. NFL's big sport worldwide. The Los Angeles area helps. Even though the people in Los Angeles probably don't care about football, being in LA and the aura there is big. Then you have LaMelo. He plays in Charlotte, North Carolina. That is not a place that people want to go play, spend time in for the most part. If he was in New York, this would be a really easy choice. You choose LaMelo. If he was in LA, you choose LaMelo. He's not in those places. If he was in Miami, you choose LaMelo. But he's not in those places. He's in Charlotte, North Carolina. But he is improving year after year here. I remember seeing videos of him in high school where he just cherry pick, and people are like, "Oh, this kid stinks." Blah blah. He puts up points because he cherry picks. Yada yada yada. This dude's amazing, and he's one of the young faces of the NBA. And people did not care about the Charlotte Hornets until he got there, and now people care about the Charlotte Hornets. If the Charlotte Hornets were coming to town in Milwaukee and the Bucks were playing, I'd probably try to get a ticket. If this were 2 years ago, I would have not tried to get a ticket. And that is not because of Miles Bridges. That is not because of Gordon Hayward, right? That is because of LaMelo Ball, and for everyone's hate on his family, and it's his dad's obnoxious. His dad is obnoxious, but he does love his sons. And there's a lot of dads out there that do not love their sons, or their daughters. And he loves his sons, and I can't fault the man. I don't love his antics, but I can't fault him for loving his sons. You can never say that, And so for me, it's like the Ball thing actually, I think, helps him. Ball being his last name and LeVar being the way LeVar is, Michael Jordan being there, I think that helps him. But again, Charlotte, North Carolina, and also the stats he's putting up are nice, but I think it's going to be, as long as he keeps progressing, it's still going to be another probably 3 years until he's like MVP caliber. Tatis and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's probably a year away from MVP caliber, and Tatis is right there already.
Yeah.
And then you have Tatis, and the NBA is the world's league, and everyone loves the NBA, and that is
for sure.
That's a big thing for LaMelo. And then you have Tatis, who obviously is the best of the bunch currently. He's the middle of the pack age-wise. He's the best of the bunch. He plays in California, but in San Diego, not in LA. Not a storied franchise, obviously, like the other three. But he does play in California, which is a help, except that the problem is, I don't know about you, but how often do you want to stay up for Padres games if they're playing on the West Coast?
That's a very good point. The 10 o'clock thing definitely hurts. Like Sunday Night Baseball, they're usually at 8, but for them that's an early game. So that is a good point. That is a good point that I didn't think about. 10 o'clock games do stink.
And so you don't run into that with the NFL.
No.
And tons of people live on the East Coast, and they're not going to run into that with LaMelo. And so if you're on the West Coast, you can still watch LaMelo at a decent time. If you're in Hawaii, you can still watch LaMelo at a decent time, right? And so you're not going to run into that situation with LaMelo. You're not going to run into that situation with Justin Herbert. But there are going to be a lot of games that start at 7:05 on the West Coast, that start at 9:05 or 10:05 on the East Coast, that you're not going to want to stay up till 1 o'clock to watch Fernando Tatis, no matter how good he is. But Justin Herbert's not going to become the face of football. Likely.
Most likely.
LaMelo Ball is not going to become the face of the NBA as long as LeBron is there and then Giannis is there.
Yeah, not a chance. I think Tatis.
I'd argue that Tatis is already the face of baseball.
Yeah, right there with you.
Yeah, they wanted Trout to be, but combining his injuries with his personality, Trout just wasn't going to be the face of baseball. He might be the best player in baseball, but he wasn't going to be the face of baseball. And so for me, it's weird because you've got a bunch of different, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. You have all of these different factors that factor into each one of these guys, where it's face of baseball, but West Coast, it's the Padres. People don't love baseball. You've got Herbert, division, all the other quarterbacks in the AFC, going to be hard for him to win, going to be hard for him to win MVPs, going to be hard for him to win Super Bowls, despite the stats he puts up. And then you've got LaMelo playing in Charlotte, probably never going to be the face of basketball, the whole thing. But at the end of the day, stats speak, MVPs speak, and team ability speaks. And the Padres have put a ton into their team. They are going to get healthy next year, and they're going to be a very good team. Tatis hopefully will be healthy. He is going to be an MVP candidate, maybe even win an MVP as long as he stays healthy. And that's a big if, but if he stays healthy, he's going to win an MVP. And he is the face of baseball. MLB is going to push, and they already do, and they're going to continue to push Tatis every which way to be the face of baseball. And it doesn't matter if you're worldwide. If everyone in baseball knows you that collects cards, if people outside of baseball that just happen to see random things about baseball, and what do they see? Tatis. They don't really care about baseball, but they know Fernando Tatis. Just like people that don't care about basketball, but they know LeBron. I do think that plays a huge factor for me, and I think, along with everything you said, I think I'm going with the T's. I didn't think I'd go with the T's. I thought I'd go with LaMelo or Herbert because of the sport.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me was the sport. Like, I'm a huge baseball fan, have been my entire life, but like I'm not ignorant to the fact that baseball is losing steam. And it's sad. Like I hate to see it. Like between the lockout and the relations between players in the league, and then the league just doing a horrible job, honestly, of marketing. Like
Yeah.
compared to the NBA and the NFL, they're hard. It's just bad. I even wrote a paper about it in school. Like it's just it's disheartening to
Well,
see.
they also the NBA, as long as you don't have Fubo TV, shout out Fubo TV, no TNT, no TBS,
That's right.
no uh Bally Sports regional networks.
Yeah.
But for NBA and NFL, you can watch all NFL games on Fox and CBS on Sundays.
Mm.
You know,
Or
maybe you
Red
don't
Zone.
have Monday Night Football on ESPN if you don't have ESPN. Maybe, Thursday Night Football, if that's occasionally on NFL Network and nowhere else, maybe you can't get that. But for the
Mm.
most part, you can get baseball or football
Yeah.
whenever.
Mm.
And if you have cable or any kind of cable, not Fubo, that doesn't have Bally regional sports, so you can't get the Bucks games. But if you've got TNT, TBS, ABC on Sunday afternoons,
Mm.
you can watch a ton of basketball every night. You can watch NBA games. Maybe you're not watching your favorite NBA game, but you can watch NBA games. For baseball, you either have to have Bally or you have to have ESPN. You'll occasionally get a Fox game, a Fox Sunday night game,
Yeah. Or TBS. Yeah.
or a TBS game. But outside of that, it's really stinking hard to watch baseball games.
Mm.
And it's a long season. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. You get it. It's a lot harder to cheer for baseball. It's a lot harder to find baseball, watch baseball. It's cheaper to go to baseball for sure.
Yeah.
But they do a terrible job, and then they have their MLB.TV. But depending on the region you're in, your games are going to be blacked out. So I live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I can neither watch Brewers games or Twins games on MLB.TV.
Mm.
You've got people that live in Iowa that can't watch Twins, they can't watch Brewers, they can't watch uh, White Sox or Cubs. They might not even be able to watch Cardinals or Kansas City because they don't have a region, so they like take every team that you could cheer for and black it out so that you have to own cable.
Yeah.
And it's just the blackout restrictions are the dumbest thing. The first thing that should go if they want people to care about baseball more, blackout restrictions on LB.TV. Forget cable anyways. Who cares?
Yeah. Cable will be gone in a couple years anyway. That's my thesis. I don't think
And
cable
I mean,
will last
look at Bally Sports. They're almost bankrupt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
It's tough. Yeah. I think the only thing really holding Tatis back, other than injuries, which is you could say that for any player,
yep,
is his own league. I think that's the only thing holding him back.
yeah. But they are pushing him as the face. So
They are.
there's
No,
that.
100%. And I
But
think
they
that's
need to get better.
yeah, I think it's good. They're on the right track, but they're still just not quite there. They're not on the same level as an NBA or an NFL or even soccer's, like you said earlier, is getting super popular in the United States, and networks are taking notice to it. ESPN's getting involved, NBC obviously with the Premier League. So it's tough. It's going to be an interesting like couple years for them because again, like I said too, like the lockout, it's just a bad look on a league. You saw the NFL; they had a seamless labor negotiation, secured their TV contracts, made all the players happy, easy. NBA, they're always innovating, they're always ahead of the game,
Yep.
whether in all aspects of like the league and society, which is a good thing going for it. But the MLB is just there's a lot of traditionalists, and like I'm kind of a traditionalist too. I like traditional aspects of baseball, but they need to get with it. Otherwise,
So you
Tatis.
like no curveballs and not wearing gloves to catch and
No, not that.
500-foot fences in center field?
Not quite that far. Not quite that
Oh,
far.
not
But
that traditionalist. Okay.
I'm not that traditional. But there's a lot of guys in the no, not that traditional. But there's still a lot of people in a league office making important decisions that are just not seeing eye to eye with where we are as a society in terms of like the digital generation and lack of attention spans and that stuff. And Tatis is great. They market him good, but I think they could do better. And I think as a league, they could do better. So that's the only thing in my argument holding him back.
All right.
So that's my pick.
I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with everything you said about the MLB. We are running a little late here, hour and 5 minutes so far. So we should probably cut it off there. But everyone in the comments, let us know who you think after going through all the stats and the numbers and the leagues and everything. Let me know who you're taking because it's an interesting conversation to be had. If you had to pick one of these guys, they're all in the similar spots in their careers, similar ages, similar locations, similar franchises. Who are you taking? Are you taking Justin Herbert? Are you taking Fernando Tatis? Or are you taking LaMelo? I think it's interesting because it's one from each league, and you get the point. We're both taking Tatis. I really didn't think I'd take Tatis. But, I think there is something to be said about even if you're a third league, being the face of it compared to the other two. That being said, let us know. I want to thank you all for joining. Appreciate the follows and the help. And everyone say hi to Vincent. Thank him for being on here. Thank you, Vincent, for being on here. We appreciate you covering for this. That's it. I guess that's a wrap. Usually Aaron wraps this up, but I guess that's a wrap of SlabStox episode 3.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me on, Nate. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Vincent, thank you. And everyone for watching, thank you. We will talk to you guys again next Thursday.